October 12th, 2023 special meeting of the Grafton Planning Board to order. This is a little bit complicated.
So, if, with your permission, our chairman is not here, so as vice chairman, I will call to order the October 12th, is that 12th?
Yes.
Meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals to order.
All right. We're doing this under all those rules about remote participation, Zoom. All of that applies. We need to check our membership.
Yes. So, present in the room, Mr. Robbins?
Present.
Mr. Davidson is absent.
I'm here.
Davidson is on Zoom.
Oh, on Zoom, I apologize. And Mr. Vectraman,
On Zoom.
I'm here.
I am here as well, and Mr. Hassender.
And I'm here.
If we could do the same? So, I'll just keep going for a minute here, Brian. ZBA chairman has joined us, but just, checking, remote participants. Actually, the only one we don't have anyone.
We don't have anyone. I don't know where Matali and Jiffy are.
We don't know where Matali or Jiffy are, okay. Then we're good. We have, everyone in the room. So at this point, it's your meeting, Mr. Hassinger.
Okay. What we're gonna do is, we have a half an hour to get through, what's on the agenda, and if we need to, then we'll have to leave at 7:30 and, move the meeting somewhere else. The first item here, is a new hearing.
Yes. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Grafton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, October 12th, 2023, commencing at 7 p.m. in Conference Room A at the Grafton Memorial Municipal Center, 30 Providence Road, Grafton, Mass. The purpose of the public hearing is to provide interested parties the opportunity to comment on a proposed amendment to the Grafton zoning bylaw, which has been submitted to the 2023 Fall Annual Town Meeting warrant as follows. Amend Section 3.2.3.2 entitled Intensity of Use Schedule by adding footnotes that reduce side and rear setback requirements in each zone to allow accessory structures to 1 and 2 family principal uses that do not occupy more than 200 square feet. A complete copy of the text and proposed amendment to the Grafton zoning bylaw is on file with the town clerk and the planning board office in the Grafton Memorial Municipal Center and is available for public inspection during normal business hours. Individuals requiring special accommodation to the public hearing should contact the planning board office ahead of now.
Okay. One of the reasons we're doing this, I believe this article was submitted to the warrant by the ZBA. And so they're here to participate in the hearing as well as go on with, the rest of their thing. Fiona, maybe you want to, tell us about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this article, this, as the chair of the planning board said, is being sponsored by the ZBA but submitted by the planning board. As Mr. Wood has read, this will be a modification to the section 3.2.3.2, the intensity of use schedule. A footnote 10 will be added to each side and rear setback requirement for each zoning district to allow for a reduction to 5 feet of the side and rear setbacks for accessory structures to 1 and 2 family principal uses only, and that does not occupy more than 200 square feet. It's very important to underscore that the size limitation is 200 square feet. Essentially, this is a shed bylaw. Happy to answer any questions.
Now, I've heard that there's discussion that this language, there may be a desire to modify the language we have here.
Yes, and I'm happy to elaborate on that and also open the floor up to the folks here. But based on the definitions that are listed in our zoning bylaw, and the intention of the article is to allow for tool sheds, we are proposing to change the language to remove accessory structures and replace with tool sheds. Happy to answer questions about that.
Change to what?
Tool sheds.
Tool shed?
Yep,
As opposed to just generically any accessory structure.
correct.
It makes it much more specific.
Okay, that makes a difference to me.
If I could just elaborate on that, and, I spoke with Mr. Berger a little bit about this, and I actually brought this concern up the first time I saw the language. So by using the term accessory structures, that opens up things like pools, pool houses, et cetera, to be within the setback, and that's really not the intention of what we're after here. We wanted just tool sheds, and as it turns out, our bylaw conveniently has a definition for tool shed in it. So it just seemed to make more sense to let's just use tool sheds, capitalize the words because it is defined. And I would say that what we're talking would be change the words accessory structures to say tool sheds for. So it's a tool sheds for 1 and 2 family principal uses that do not occupy more than 200 square feet.
Okay.
So that's that was certainly my thinking and Mr. Berger's thinking when I talked to him.
Now, the question that popped into my head when I heard about this milliseconds ago, well, no, actually hours ago, 2 or 3, and I went back and looked again at the tool shed definition. It says a shed which contains tools that are normal to residential use or something like that. But it doesn't say limited to. Can I put a tool, one of my shop hammers in there, so I've got a tool, and then I can have something else in the rest of it. I don't think the tool shed definition is entirely tight on that. And I wish that Mr. Berger was here to help with how he interprets that or how it would be enforced.
Yeah, I think, and I'm not speaking for him, but as we talked through it seemed like this was, certainly bringing down the opportunity quite a bit.
Yeah.
Using the term tool shed would make it more, I guess, restrictive, but closer to what the intention has been. And through the years, if I just may say a little more, through the years, we have had a number of these situations where people have come to the ZBA asking to put a shed in the corner of their yard, and they need a variance for that, and variances are next to impossible to grant. We had one situation where, a gentleman came to us to put a shed in the corner of his yard, and he had a typical subdivision where 4 lots came together at one corner, and 3 of his neighbors all had their sheds jammed in the corner. And this poor guy made the mistake of asking for a permit and was told essentially that he couldn't do what his 3 neighbors were doing. And that's really what we really want to try and get away from.
One of my questions, before I keep going on, anybody else on our board right now? One of my questions is setbacks in zoning. Why? What are why does zoning have setbacks? I think it's to set a character of a neighborhood, and along those lines. But my dim memories of the history of planning goes back to things like fire. You got setbacks because of fire also. If you separate the structures, then they're less likely to. So how do you pick the right number? Somewhere back around 86, or maybe it was carried over from before 86, someone picked these setbacks with a couple of tweaks, I think, since then. What's the right, how do you decide what the right setback is? If I want to put a shed in the corner of my lot, I know what I want. But if I'm the general public that's not paying any attention to this, maybe I don't want the character of neighborhoods to have that closeness. So that makes me personally having a problem without a broader look at a policy, basically a policy change in that area. I'm just a little conflicted about how to come down on it. Anybody else? Go.
My only question, might be simple, is why are we adding this exception to OLI and I districts for where we say it's for residential use, but it's being proposed as a footnote for the office light industrial and industrial as well.
I can answer that.
So can I.
When it-
Because we do have houses that are in OLI and industrial. So if you
So
read the,
pre-existing.
yeah, the
uses?
pre-existing non-conforming uses already that are in there, but it's specifically only to 1 and 2 family structures.
Yep.
So somebody with a business can't come and ask for it, but 1 and 2 families can.
Okay, that makes sense.
One or two family uses.
Units,
Yes.
yeah, 1 and 2
Uses.
family uses.
I have a similar type of question related to the house that we live in. It's in a multi-family zone, as are all of those houses on Providence Road. So I assume that this would apply, that anyone that wants to put in a shed, a tool shed or whatever you want to call it, could do so,
If it's a 1 and 2 family,
if it's a 1 and 2 family.
not a multi-family unit.
And
Presumably,
meets
right.
the size requirements.
Yeah, it meets the size requirements.
The 200.
That meets the.
It can't be over 200 square feet for a shed.
Oh, okay, not the lot requirement,
No.
but the,
Right.
the tool the shed requirement.
Yeah, the shed requirement.
Okay.
anybody else?
Is it
Anybody?
A lawnmower garden tractor does come under the definition of a tool.
I don't know, is that a whatever it is, residential?
I would assume it is,
Yeah.
because it's a tool to cut your grass or, but
Yeah, but I wanna know about all the other stuff that you put in there besides your tractor and your hammers, that isn't. And whether that, once you've got the building up, are you restricted in how is it controlled at all?
If I may? So I actually recall now, Bob and I actually did talk about this, and again, I feel bad speaking for him, but I think I actually said to Mr. Berger, I said, so if somebody builds their tiki hut that goes with their pool in the setback and says, oh, I'm gonna keep some tools in the back of the tiki hut, does that qualify? And his answer was no. He says, the tiki hut's a tiki hut. You know, a pool house is a pool house. So that's what he responded.
Yeah,
And you know, and sometimes, you know, in those situations, in my mind, you know, it kind of becomes his problem. It also becomes whoever replaces him down the road's problem as well. But, you know, he did respond along those lines. If it's a pool house, it's a pool house. You know, you can't just turn around and say it's a tool shed because you have something in the back of it.
yeah,
I don't think that we could legislate, just as a practical matter, I don't see how we can legislate down to the detail of exactly what is and is not allowed in such a structure. I mean, that's really going off the deep end.
Yeah.
I think, Mr. Berger's interpretation kind of relies on a what looks like the primary purpose of the structure.
Yep.
And, that's probably a matter best left up to the judgment of the building inspector.
except that I've gone through more than one building inspector, and each one has had decidedly different views on many of these things. Maybe you have to. Never happened, right?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
So you see what I'm saying? Yes.
Just something to note as well, that when these tool shed, if these tool sheds were, if this were to pass, each will be reviewed by the building department on a case-by-case basis. So that is also a factor to consider.
Yeah. But when, after it's built, they don't go back in and see.
They do go and inspect it.
Well, they could, but they won't.
No, they do.
Well,
I work in the building department and we inspect every shed because
Yeah.
they have to pull a permit. Now, do we go in once they've?
yeah, once they put the tools in it.
No, we don't, but
And
we go
then-
in once
and the
they have it
tiki,
there.
stuff and,
he's saying after
No.
occupancy,
Yeah.
in other words.
Yeah, yeah.
You're absolutely correct. Nobody.
Yeah, Now, maybe if a neighbor complained,
Correct.
Right.
yeah, and then we'll find out what the current building inspector thinks. But, okay, anyway, I really would like us to have had a better path to this, you know, come to us, and we'd had time to handle it properly.
It can be tweaked, like I've been told before in front of this board, later on, but I'm glad it's here, to be honest with you. As a ZBA member for quite a while, the shed ones are tough to tell somebody trying to get a variance that they don't really qualify.
Well, does anybody else have anything to contribute? If not,
I'll move that the board close the public hearing on this.
Did that include the public just then?
well,
We do have people sitting out there. I don't know if they want
I-
to speak, but
does someone want to speak? Good thinking.
And is somebody keep an eye on the Zoom meeting? Is
Yeah,
somebody
there's
keeping an eye on
nobody.
Zoom?
There are no raised
Nobody.
hands.
okay, good.
Okay, there was a motion to close the hearing
And
I second.
and a second. Is there any discussion among the planning board? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Davidson.
Aye.
Mr. Venkatraman.
Aye.
And Mr. Hassinger.
Aye. So the hearing is closed. Now, how do we proceed?
I will offer a motion that the board recommend passage of this article with the changes that we discussed.
Second.
I think the recommendation would be with an amendment to the,
That's,
with this amendment, such and such words. Okay, I think at least one other place in the report, it spells out amendment words, for other articles.
Yes.
So the motion will be, our recommendation is to approve this warrant article with the change of accessory structures 2 to the words tool shed 4.
I would say recommend rather than approve.
Recommend.
Yeah, town meeting.
That's what I'm attempting to say.
And my second is based on what Dave just said.
So,
Well, the board recommends that town meeting approve this article with that wording change.
which will be a floor amendment made by someone.
I was gonna ask that, after you guys finished, I was gonna ask that question, but certainly, we could do it, if, I wasn't sure, but we,
Someone,
I would do it, I mean, we had a conversation, and I shouldn't be speaking for the chair.
the thing is, it should be I think it needs to be a floor amendment after the planning board report. There's a history why,
So-
we can't change what's in the warrant.
Okay, that's what I was going, so the warrant says accessory structures. So what you're proposing is that, that article be presented to the town, be presented to the town meeting, and then someone, proposes an amendment to it to change those three words.
No, the planning board, normally, in the planning board report gets read as the first thing under,
Yep,
under,
Okay.
a zoning.
and then amend it to change those three words.
Floor amendment, well,
Yes.
I don't know, whatever, how many words.
There'll
That's,
be a motion, to open discussion, floor amendment is proposed at that time,
Yep.
typically. So
Yep.
yes, you're right, yep.
I can
So
get the
then
word
town
from
meeting
Fiona
has
and
to-
get it to you guys.
Town meeting has to vote to amend and then to vote on
Yeah.
the article.
Yeah.
Right.
And, I think that's a majority to amend, but
Right, the vote to amend is a majority vote. The vote on the resulting warrant article.
we
is
really need
two-thirds.
to get into all this. No, we didn't. We were in the middle of a motion, and we're under discussion under Dave's motion.
Discussion into the motion.
Is there any further discussion? I don't hear any. Roll call
Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Davidson.
Aye.
Mr. Veckatraman.
Aye.
And Mr. Hassinger.
And I vote aye. Motion carries unanimously. Now then, there's 10 minutes, and our agenda, the other thing on our agenda is to get busy on the report for the other 6 articles, right?
Yep,
And,
that's drafted.
we might not get through that, or do you think we will?
I think so, because I incorporated all of the suggestions. The only thing that I think, other than going over Article 51, which we just did, is just to approve the length of Article 48, our favorite article. I tried to summarize as much as possible the changes in a succinct, clear way. So if any members of the board have suggestions or wish that for me to modify this further, happy to hear that, and then we can.
The only, after having read through that, more than once, I'm basically comfortable with the report as written. It is, the only thing I'll pick on the report is that the report refers to amendments to the warrant. And as we know, the warrant itself doesn't get amended. So the wording in the report, and this will also want to be reflected in the Article 51, which we haven't yet written, that where the wording currently says the following amendments to the warrant, it should say something like the following amendments to the wording proposed in the warrant article.
Sounds good to me.
And that's good enough for the purpose of the planning board report, I think. We've been working out the motions for 47 and 48, which are a little bit more precise in terms of the wording changes. But the proposed report adequately reflects it, in my opinion.
Good catch, Dave.
So, do any of our members have any input on this question of that whole report?
I think it was very reflective of our discussion and was good. This 48 is a little bit long, but I think it's no longer than it needs to be.
Oh, only as long as it needs to be.
If that makes sense.
Any other discussion out there in Zoom land?
And the filling in the report for Article 51, I think it's pretty much based on the discussion we've just had.
Filling, 51.
The draft report posted on the website did include-
Add what we just talked about to it.
Yep.
Or
Yes.
whatever it is. Be sure it's in there.
Yep.
Structured like we said, an amendment. So recommendations are subject to the proposed amendments.
So using Article, using Article 47 as a model because the volume of the bulk of them.
If we don't talk much more, we can make this work. Of course, you could start your hearing 3 minutes late maybe, or whatever it is you.
So
All right.
Let me offer a motion that the board approve the draft planning report with the additions and modifications that we've just discussed.
Yeah,
Second.
Moved and seconded. It's gonna say recommend, not approve
Correct.
on each article. Any other discussion about that?
Yes, one briefly, just so I have it straight. Replacing the language in Article 51, incorporating the comments from today, changing out tool sheds changing tool sheds 4, making the modifications that Dave proposed, that say amendment to the warrant, changing that, and then did we say shorten it?
no, we didn't.
Yeah, about 3/4 of it.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that I captured everyone's
I mean,
comments.
think of those trees.
Yeah. Thank you.
I wonder how many copies of the warrant, actually it's 96 pages, 48, just 48 sheets. Wonder how many copies of
Move the question.
those.
I said move the question.
Since the question's been moved, roll call.
Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Davidson.
Aye.
Mr. Venkatraman.
Aye.
And Mr. Hassinger.
Aye. We are adjourned. Adjourned?
We didn't.
No, we are,
One
we
more
are,
agenda item.
yeah, no, I know that
One
wasn't the
quick question
adjournment
for you,
because
Mr.
I
Hassinger,
didn't
before we-
say.
Yes.
One quick question, Mr. Hassinger, before we adjourn. Which articles did you want to present at town meeting for the report yourself, if any?
Let's fight that out. I at the moment, I don't know what we're gonna do about reading reports, because we're not gonna read dozens of pages of report. Yes,
Chair, if I may, and Mr. Wood, I plan to present the PowerPoint presentation, and then when it comes time for obviously a Grafton resident to make the motion, I'll provide the planning board reports. Dave is handling 47 and 48 because those are the bears. But yes, the others,
I didn't follow
probably
that
both
because
of you.
the customary way we do zoning is motion for the article is made, and then the planning board report is read, and then we move on. So your presentation comes after that,
Okay.
and I'm not sure whether it comes before or after the floor amendment. And Dave can help figure that one out.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of done both ways. It could be done either way, but typically, without a floor amendment, it's the sequence is as you said. Should a floor amendment be necessary, you could do it both ways. For 47 and 48, my preference would be after the motion is made. I don't know whether we're going to include the amendments in the main motion, which would have been my recommendation. But if we do need to make a floor amendment, I'm prepared to do that immediately following the planning board report, because the planning board report is going to recommend it being passed, recommend the town meeting vote for it with the changes. So we put the changes on the floor right away. We, that sort of
All right.
somewhat
I
streamlines the
don't know.
process.
That makes sense.
We can hand wave a little bit right now.
Huh?
So we can hand wave it a little bit right now and then Monday.
All right, but you asked the question, who's
did.
gonna read? So it's all your fault. It's the reading long, I've read a lot of long things, but not as long as some of these.
Yeah.
I might take a short one or two, but we'll fight it out
Okay.
on Monday night.
That's fine.
Just to the best of my recollection, in some recent years, we have not read verbatim the entire planning board report.
Yeah, exactly.
We've read like the first boilerplate, skipped over the details, and then concluded with the board's recommendation.
The problem is that no one will have had a chance to see any of this until Monday night, probably. And so they will not be familiar with the pages and pages and pages of what's there until they come in, unless they pick up papers and read them. And I hope it doesn't hurt what we're trying to accomplish. I hope it doesn't, some of the votes, not all of them, require 2/3 vote.
Fortunately, the complicated ones, 46, 47, and 40, 46 isn't complicated. 46 and 47 are linked together.
Yep.
But those all are majority votes.
Okay, so you're gonna have the hard ones. The ones that,
Thanks.
the ones that you spent so much time on.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything more for us to talk about?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This is not debatable. Roll call.
Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Davidson.
Aye.
Mr. Venkatraman.
Aye.
And Mr. Hassinger.
Aye. We are adjourned.